In the winter of 1572, Japan trembled under the shifting tides of power. For decades, the land had been consumed by endless rivalries, collapsing clans, and warlords rising like storms across the horizon. But one name echoed louder than the rest: Takeda Shingen, the Tiger of Kai. By this time, Shingen was no longer just another powerful daimyo. He had become a force of destiny, a man whispered about in villages, admired by warriors, feared by generals, and respected even by his enemies. His victories were not just military triumphs. They were masterclasses in strategy, precision, and psychological brilliance. And now, with Kai and Shinano firmly in his grasp, Shingen set his eyes on the greatest prize of all: Kyoto, the imperial capital, the ancient heart of Japan, and the throne from which the next great shogun would rise. But the road to Kyoto was shielded by walls of iron. To the south, the once mighty Imagawa clan still controlled Suruga, and further beyond them stood two rising giants: Tokugawa Ieyasu, young and ambitious, and Oda Nobunaga, the most ruthless strategic mind of the era. Yet Shingen did not hesitate. He sensed what others feared to admit. Japan was ready for a new unifier, and he could be that man. So in 1568, Shingen struck with breathtaking speed. Suruga fell in months, its castles swallowed by the red banners of the Takeda. The Imagawa were finished. Japan understood the message clearly. The Tiger of Kai had awakened, and he was marching south. By late 1572, Shingen unleashed what would become his greatest and final campaign. The army moved with silent coordination, cavalry thundering, a shigeru marching in perfect lines, banners of wind, forest, fire, mountain rippling like living flames. Villages watched in awe as the crimson wave passed. Even rival clans paused their wars, knowing Japan was about to change forever. The first to face him was Tokugawa Ieyasu at Mikatagahara. The battle was brutal, thunderous, swift. Shingen carved through Tokugawa forces with masterful shock tactics, crushing the young lord in a humiliating defeat. Ieyasu retreated into Hamamatsu Castle, keeping the gates open in a desperate psychological gambit. But Shingen did not stop to celebrate. He had no time. Kyoto awaited. Even Oda Nobunaga, who feared nothing, halted his own campaigns upon hearing Shingen was advancing. For the first time, the Demon King hesitated. Japan held its breath. The tiger was coming, but fate had other plans. General could anticipate, and no sword could strike down. Takeda Shingen began to fall ill. At first it was subtle, a dry cough, a faint heaviness in his chest. But each day the symptoms worsened. Rumors spread quietly among retainers. The Lord's voice sounds weaker today. He barely touched his meal. Shingen hid the truth behind iron discipline. Wrapped in heavy cloaks, sitting inside his palanquin, he issued orders with unwavering determination. To his soldiers, he still looked invincible. But to his closest generals, the truth was unavoidable. The Tiger of Kai was dying. Some say it was tuberculosis, others believe it was kidney failure. But whatever the cause, the result was the same. The strongest warlord of his era was fading. The march slowed. Campaign halts lengthened. Meetings grew shorter as Shingen struggled to breathe. His generals exchanged silent glances, afraid of the future. They knew what all of Japan feared. If Shingen fell, the Takeda clan's destiny would crumble with him. Yet even in agony, Shingen planned, calculated, commanded. He reviewed maps with trembling hands. He whispered strategies between coughing fits. His will was so powerful that many soldiers believed he was simply conserving strength for the final blow against Nobunaga. But then, near the Tenryu River in the spring of 1573, the truth could no longer be concealed. Shingen summoned his generals: Itagaki, Yamagata, Obata, Baba, the pillars of the Takeda clan. His voice was thin, but his spirit shone like fire. And there, in a dimly lit command tent, Shingen gave the order that would become his final secret. My death must not be announced. If the enemy learns of it, they will attack with confidence. Keep my passing hidden for 3 years. The generals bowed their heads, tears falling onto the floorboards. The greatest strategist of the Sengoku era had planned even his own death, as though it were another maneuver on the battlefield. Shortly after giving the order, Shingen closed his eyes. The Tiger of Kai was gone, but Japan did not know it, because the ghost of Takeda Shingen would continue to lead his army, even in death. After Shingen's death, the Takeda camp went silent. No banners lowered, no drums stopped, no mourning allowed. His body was secretly embalmed, disguised, and escorted back to Kai. Orders continued to be given in his name. Messages were sealed using his crest. His son Katsuyori stepped forward slowly, pretending he was only conveying Shingen's instructions from afar. For 3 entire years, Japan lived in fear of a warlord who was no longer alive.
I understand your concerns,
Enemy spies
generals,
reported,
but
Shingen is still
hesitation will cost
giving
us the
orders.
victory.
Shingen
We
is
march
regrouping.
tonight.
Shingen is preparing a new attack. Nobunaga hesitated, Ieyasu stayed cautious. No one dared provoke the tiger, but the illusion could not last forever. When Katsuyori finally stepped into the full role of clan leader, the cracks appeared immediately. He was brave, but impulsive, loyal, but inexperienced. He lacked the calm authority, the iron strategy, and the terrifying charisma of his father. The vassals grew doubtful. Allies began to drift away. The invincible war machine Shingen had built began to rust. Then came Nagashino, 1575 Katsuyori, desperate to prove himself, launched an assault against the combined forces of Oda Nobunaga and Tokugawa Ieyasu. He charged into a trap, rows of arquebusiers, wooden palisades, coordinated gunfire. A new era of warfare. The legendary Takeda cavalry, feared for decades, was shredded by bullets. It was the end of their supremacy. In the years that followed, the Takeda clan collapsed completely. All the lands Shingen had united vanished. All the generals he once commanded, gone. The crimson banners that once shook Japan, burned. But Shingen's legacy never faded. Tokugawa Ieyasu, who would go on to unify Japan, studied Shingen's strategies obsessively. He declared the Takeda discipline unmatched in the land. Historians compared Shingen to Napoleon the Meiji era, honored him as a national icon. Even today, his name lives in statues, dramas, films, anime, and games. In Kofu City, his bronze horseman statue stands tall, eyes fixed on the horizon, as if watching over his people forever. Shingen proved one final truth. A leader is not defined only by victories, but by the discipline he builds, the justice he upholds, and the legacy he leaves behind. Thus ends the tale of Takeda Shingen, the Tiger of Kai, the strategist of an era, and the ghost who led an army.
The Tiger of Kai fears nothing, children. His roar echoes across the mountains.
Swift as the wind, silent as the forest, fierce as the fire, immovable as the mountain.
Shingen's use of cavalry here is similar to Marengo.
This is where Napoleon's tactics diverged.
Be swift as the wind. Attack with fire.